So we are all set. Hello and welcome to a very, very important podcast. It is important because I have with me Mr. Saurabh Goswami, sir. He is associated with Rouse Eyes for last 5 years. He is a faculty of history. He teaches history in foundation classes, and he has a very, very good command over all the dimensions of history that you can think of. So I have interacted with you, sir, on ancient history. We have had discussions on modern history, world history, and the kind of perspectives that you give me on all the events that have happened or I know of, that is just mind boggling. And so that's why I thought of inviting you to a podcast. Although I did not have anything specific, I do not even now. It might seem like a time waste to you, but I do not have a specific thing to talk about. And so I thought, why not? Let's through the discussion arrive at a topic and discuss that as well. So I welcome you on the podcast, sir.
Thanks, Vaibhav sir. First of all, I will deliver my thanks to you for this nice introduction. And thanks for introducing me to this podcast series. And since we are going to start the discussion of topics of history.
Yes, sir.
So basically in history, we have a wide range of topics.
That's
There are diverse topics that we can
I think
cover.
the widest possible topics.
Exactly. It
Yes.
means that we will start a series and that is not going to finish even we will be completing 200 videos.
That's right.
So there are so
That's
many
right.
topics that we can do.
That's correct.
So I think that it will be better if we'll start our discussion from ancient part, right?
Yes, sir.
So we are going to start our discussion. It means in this podcast series, we will start our discussion on the ancient part of the history.
But sir, then in ancient, also medieval, modern, there are so many topics that we can take up. So, for example, I don't know. Can you just give me some options I can pick
Definitely,
from?
for sure.
Yeah.
Ancient Indian history is very diverse.
That is right.
And that is important for exam context also.
That's right.
We can
That's
say.
correct.
And this is important from cultural aspect also.
Yes.
So in this podcast, we can select some particular issues. For example, we can select issues that are related to the women. Okay.
Okay.
For example, status of women in ancient India. Okay.
That
we
looks
can
like an
further
interesting
go ahead
topic, yeah.
discussing status of women in medieval India.
That's very interesting.
And the role of women in Indian national movement. That will be a very important theme to discuss.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
And in the same manner, we can select other themes also. For example, development of feudalism in ancient India
Okay.
is a very important topic. Development of science and technology and literature in ancient India. We can also go ahead on these discussions. Okay.
All right.
Development of art and architecture in ancient India.
So my
There are very
greedy
interesting discussions.
mind wants to discuss all of the topics, but can we discuss the role of or status of women in ancient India for today?
For sure.
Okay.
This will be one of the most interesting topic.
Okay,
And we can start our discussion on the same topic.
that's so nice of you, sir.
Status of women in ancient India.
That is right. So now the topic of today's podcast has been finalized, and that is going to be the status and role and various dimensions related to women in ancient India.
Sure.
So when it comes to the status and role of women, we understand that in the current context, the status of women is nowhere near to what we desire in an ideal society. And obviously, society and the state of India as a whole, we are taking a lot of steps towards that. There are some hits, there are some misses, there are some achievements as well. But when we talk about ancient India, sir, there are multiple perspectives that are given. So, for example, one of the perspective is that the status of women in ancient societies, like in Vedic period, if you go back, like Indus Valley, some people claim it to be an ideal situation where it was equality. Some people say that status of women in India was always very low. India had always had patriarchy, so the status of women was never good. Coming from the kind of background and the kind of command you have, what is your view and your take on this?
Exactly, when we look at the status of the women,
Ji.
basically, since we are discussing a particular phase in
Right, sir.
ancient India,
Right, sir.
so first it is very important to trace out the historical developments.
Yes, sir.
That how the status of women changed, transformed during this entire ancient Indian history.
Right, sir.
And for that, we can just divide this theme into two parts. One is what? Subjection of women, right?
Okay.
It means when women were subjected to discrimination in ancient India, in medieval India, and they are subjected to discrimination in today's society also.
As well,
And this fact we cannot deny.
That's right.
And the second aspect that we can discuss here is deliverance of women. This we also know by the name of liberation of women, Nari
Liberation.
Mukti.
Yes, yes.
So these are two aspects.
That's correct.
And very interestingly, these two things were going on hand in hand.
Okay.
They were simultaneous.
Okay.
When we talk in the matters of development of status of women in ancient India, both these processes were simultaneous. Subjection of women and deliverance.
How do we know that, sir?
Okay.
How do we know that it was going hand in hand?
It was going hand in hand. For example, okay, first we take reference of Vedic period. But before that, before coming to that Vedic period, I will just trace out a significant example. You must have heard about Indus Valley civilization. That was one of the first
That's
urban
right.
civilization in India.
That's right.
Okay. And in Indus Valley civilization, we have the mother goddess statues, right? Basically sculptures, okay? And this has been discovered from so many places, right? Mother goddess.
Right.
So there was the significance of mother goddess in Indus Valley civilization.
That's correct, sir.
Okay. And there is one thing about Indus Valley civilization. There is the limitation of written documents.
So we do not even now understand the script. It is undeciphered.
Okay, there is a
Yes.
script
Yes.
that is known as pictographic script, but it has not been deciphered. This is one of the serious limitations when we compare it with the other contemporary civilizations of that
Of that point.
about Indus Valley civilization.
That is correct.
It means our source of knowledge and information.
So basically, you are
is-
referring to Mesopotamian and other
yes,
similarly
other
located.
civilizations.
Yes.
Okay. So basically, our source of information for this particular period is only and only archaeological evidences, right?
That's correct.
So what does these archaeological evidences says? We need to understand. And the task of history is also the task of reasoning. We can relate to that because we make assumptions on the basis of the archaeological excavations that we have from this particular phase of history. So what does this mother goddess teach? So there are different historians, different group of historians, and they have different opinions regarding this. Okay. John Marshall, Shireen Ratnagar, different historical debates hovering around this mother goddess, okay, concept.
As to how to look
But
at
still,
what to
we-
interpret from the
Exactly.
statues of
so
Mother
generally
Goddess.
we will not enter into that part of historical debate.
Okay.
That will be not good for the our viewers or the regular viewers or the
Yeah.
channel viewers.
Yes.
Okay. So I will discuss one aspect, and that is this mother goddess is important with respect to the fertility cult. Is it clear?
That is right.
Reproduction, fertility cult. Mothers has always been respected in our society.
Yes.
And that part is what? Deliverance. Mothers has always been respected in the society. We are calling them mother goddess. You must have heard these famous lines. Yatra naryastu पूजन्ते रमन्ते तत्र देवता. जहाँ जिस घर में नारियों का सम्मान होता है उस घर में देवताओं का वास होता है.
So where the women are respected,
Exactly.
gods reside in that home.
Definitely,
Yes.
right? Those houses where the women are respected, they are treated well, those houses will flourish with wealth. And in the houses where women don't get the desired respect, even the god will not accept the offering of that particular family. So this is our culture. Okay. So this mother goddess culture is not only confined to the history of India, right? You will find that in other countries,
But sir,
in agricultural communities, this concept of mother goddess is very important.
That is right.
Clear?
But sir, this one thing I want to explore here is that when you are respecting women for the sake of fertility, you are respecting women not because they are women or you treat them as equal, not because they are equal, but because they are a means to achieve an end, and the end is to have more children. Maybe because of that. I don't know.
Actually, with Indus Valley civilization, there are limitations that
Right.
mother goddess, what
Correct.
does it says or indicates?
Right.
What you are asking, that are the women respected only for this reason that they are
Yes,
the mother?
that is
and
my
they are
doubt. Yeah, the
just,
other side of debate. Yes.
delivering babies.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
and like this. So this is not the case.
Okay.
And for that, we need to understand the developments in Vedic period.
That's right.
Vedic cultural phase.
That's right.
And Vedic cultural phase is a phase of almost 900 years, starting from 1500 BC, and it covers to a period of 600 BC.
So this 1,000-year period.
Almost 1000 years
Almost
period.
1000
But
period.
there are important and significant developments during this phase.
And
And
so
in
just
order
to set the context, can you just explain Vedic period to our viewers as to how do we define Vedic
Sure,
period?
I am going
Yeah.
to discuss that,
Okay.
and by discussing that, I will be able to explain what is subjection and what is the deliverance.
Okay.
That part. Okay,
That dichotomy.
Yes, we can understand this dichotomy with
Nice.
this part of the development. So in Vedic period, what we see that in order to trace out the developments during this Vedic period, it has been divided by the historians.
Right.
Okay, just to trace out the significant developments into the early Vedic period, that is also called Rig Vedic period. I hope you are familiar with
yes,
this.
sir. Yes, sir.
And the second part, later phase, that is called the later Vedic period.
Correct.
So there are important developments. So since we are discussing about the role of women, so first we all know that one of the basic difference between Indus Valley civilization and the Vedic period is that Vedic period is the rural cultural phase,
Okay.
and Indus Valley civilization was the urban cultural
Urban.
phase.
So from urban, we transition into a completely rural society.
This civilization was discovered later. Okay, previously we were familiar with this part, that the history starts from Stone Age and then Vedic period. Okay,
Right.
so what we see here, that in Vedic period, in first phase, the society was basically tribal in nature, and the society was in the process of gradual development in the first phase.
Ji.
And in that particular phase,
Right.
women and men both were equally respected in the society, and the status was equal. There was no any discrimination in first phase.
In the first
Vedic
phase.
period. First phase.
Okay.
There was no any
And
discrimination.
how do we know that, sir?
Definitely, cow was one of the most important economic asset during this entire phase.
Correct.
And there are various words, okay, in Vedic period, there are various terms
Ji.
which contains this word of cow.
Right.
For example, you must have heard the words like Gavisti, Gavyat, Gamya, Geshu, Duhitri.
Ji.
And here Duhitri word is important for daughters. It means cows are important economic assets as well as daughters.
So you are treating cows in a respected way. And the
Definitely.
name that you're using for cows, almost the same root word is being used for women as well, showing the high status. Yes.
It shows
That's
shows
right.
two things.
Yes.
First,
importance of women.
social respect of women, and the second, okay, participation of women in economic activities also. This, because this we can generally assume
That
that
is
in
right.
tribal society
That is correct.
or in rural societies,
Yes.
the men and women both equally participate in the economic activities, because
That
these
is-
communities are largely agrarian in nature.
Agrarian nature, and that is why we see that the women in rural areas, women in rural areas, they are more empowered and they have more autonomy in making decisions
Definitely.
as compared to
Today
middle
also.
class urban women.
Today also.
Yeah, today also.
Okay, today also this difference can be seen. They are
That
more
is-
civilized people.
that is
okay,
right.
they are giving more respect to the women.
Because they participate in a day-to-day affair. Yeah.
Now there are two things: economic participation and social respect.
Right.
There is one more thing that is very interesting, and that is what political participation of women.
Really?
If you will read Vedic period, no,
In early Vedic.
no. Basically, this was at the junction of this
Junction,
Vedic period.
okay.
It means the early
Boundary.
Vedic period was ending and
Yes.
later Vedic period was beginning.
Transition.
At this phase, we see political institutions.
Okay, that's
And
very
these
interesting.
are the earliest political institutions in India. And these political institutions, these are very famous. I hope all viewers are familiar with this. Sabha, Samiti,
Yes.
Vidat,
Yes.
Gan.
Yes.
Okay, in later Vedic phase,
Yes.
Parishad also appears.
That is
in
right.
Mahajanpadera, that Parishad becomes more important. So here we are talking about Sabha.
Sabhas.
That was
Assembly of
Sabha and
people.
Samiti. These two are the most important assemblies out of all. Sabha
That
and
is correct.
Samiti.
And they
that-
used to make important decisions.
Yes, and some literary references says that these are treated as two daughters of Prajapati, and Prajapati was one of the most popular god at that time, one of the frequently mentioned god at that time in the Rig Veda. So this shows the importance of these political institutions.
Wow.
And in this institution Sabha,
Ji.
women participated as members, and when they participate, they are known as Sabhavati. So that is what political participation of women, social inclusion, economic, their participation in economic activities. Today also we lack these things. Okay.
Wow. Today we have to
Political
provide a
empower-
constitution amendment
Definitely,
to
there are limits,
enable
limits,
reservation for women.
limits to the political empowerment.
That
of
is
women.
right. There are limits.
This political empowerment will
of
finally
course.
open the gates for the liberation of women. So
Wow.
I consider that when we compare social empowerment, economic empowerment, political empowerment, so what is the most important thing? So political empowerment. This will open the gates of their deliverance. This is the most important thing. So this was happening. But when we enter into the later Vedic phase, what we say that the participation of women in these assemblies started declining. The first important thing. That shows the declining status of women. First thing. Second important thing is that in early Vedic period, what we see that basically society and religion both are related with each other. We cannot separate both these two aspects.
That's right.
They are highly interlinked. So with society, we have to understand the religion also. Okay, the nature of religion was growing complex. Gradually, it was
becoming a hierarchical mega.
The nature of religion was growing complex. And with this complexity in religion, complex form of sacrifices will emerge. Okay, and you can say that the pure form of our religious scriptures are Vedas.
Right.
Okay, and in this context, Swami Dayanand Saraswati said that return to Vedas,
Return.
because they are the original scriptures. Okay, it means the information that is contained in the Vedas are very pure, are free from misinterpretations, because these are the original writings, free from misinterpretations. What happened in later phase, various commentaries appeared on these scriptures.
So
original
various
form of
corruptions
scriptures,
happened.
and these commentaries are not only misinterpretations. There are two aspects again: good interpretation
And bad.
and bad
So
interpretation.
good means liberal interpretation.
Exactly.
And
Liberal
bad
and
means
radical.
Radical.
Okay. So what happens? The misinterpretations promoted complexities in society.
And they
And this complexity is not only social complexity, this is religious complexity as well. And that social complexity is what? Declining status of women in the society. So this marks the beginning. But we have to be alert while understanding this theme, because with the limited, if you don't understand this concept, so sometimes we feel that in ancient India, our religious scriptures were basically targeting women.
right.
This is not true. I said that both these things are going on hand in
Simultaneously.
simultaneously. On one side, I will give some references in ancient literature. For example, Taittiriya Samhita. You must have heard this
Yes,
word.
sir.
Taittiriya Samhita. So that Samhita refers, there is some reference in that Taittiriya Samhita which says that men and women both are like two wheels of a chariot. And this chariot will go smoothly when these two wheels will work together,
Work together.
will work in an efficient
If
manner.
one of them breaks down, the car will break down.
Definitely.
Chariot will
You can
break
imagine
down.
the level of progressiveness
Wow.
that is contained in these samhitas.
I thought these are new aphorisms. I thought these are
स्त्री और पुरुष दोनों एक रथ के दो
समान
पहिए की
भागीदार
तरह
हैं।
हैं, और अगर रथ के दोनों पहिए ठीक ढंग से नहीं चलेंगे तो ये समाज कैसे बेहतर
उनमें
ढंग से
समन्वय
चलेगा?
नहीं होगा तो नहीं चल
Now
पाएगा।
just imagine this situation. Women are almost half of this population. If they are not given equal representation, how this society can make progress? How we can be better? We cannot expect that our society will progress unless we
And
are
this idea existed 2000 years ago as well, and we have evidences for that.
definitely. This
Wow.
is the progressiveness of our culture. The second reference I will try to give you, and that is what? Again, there is a reference, and that reference is from Vrihad Dharm Puran. Puranas were composed in Gupta period, so this is not
After
exactly
later Vedic.
at this Vedic period, but it is
They
important.
represent
to know
almost the
context
same
of
social.
ancient Indian development. So Vrihad Dharm Puran says, basically this is what I'm going to tell you is in the form of conversations. You must have heard the name of a popular rishi in ancient India, Vyas.
Vyas Rishi.
And there was one another rishi, Jabali. ठीक है?
Acha. I have not heard the second
But Vyas you must have heard.
Yes, yes.
So there was a dialogue and conversation between Rishi Jabali and Rishi Vyas.
Okay.
And what is the dialogue and conversation? So Jabali asks Rishi Vyas that, okay, in these three lokas, the concept of loka you understand?
Yes.
Okay. So in these three lokas, what components are supreme? Which components are supreme in these three lokas?
Yes.
And now what is the answer? The answer is first, river Ganges. Okay. That is the, you can say that, okay, pilgrimage that we must visit. That is the most holiest place in all these three lokas.
Okay.
And the second aspect that he is discussing is about Lord Vishnu. Why Lord Vishnu? Because this Lord Vishnu is considered to be as the one who operates this world.
He's the
Definitely,
CEO.
God, the concept of God means generator, operator, and destroyer.
Yes.
So Vishnu is the operator.
He runs the company.
Okay,
Yeah.
He runs the company. He's
Yeah.
the CEO. Of the
CEO. He's not the founder, but he's the CEO.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And the third component which he is talking is master. Master in this world. Who is the master in this world? And he says that mother. That mother is the master in this world.
So when asked about three topmost priorities, the mention
is-
is made to River Ganga, the second one is Vishnu, and third one is Mother.
Mother. So what I am saying, mother goddess,
Mother goddess.
again mother.
Wow. So we are now
So there is
tracing it. So we directly can correlate a continuous running theme in ancient India, the significance of women.
Okay.
Wow.
Now I will give one more reference.
Yes.
Because that will make our concepts clear. Na? So this reference is from Manava Dharma Sutra. And here motherhood has been discussed. And the significance of motherhood has been discussed. Matritva, right? And in ancient Indian cultural tradition, there were different category of teachers. For example, one is teacher who gives formal education like us. We give formal education.
Yeah.
There is another group of teacher which were called acharya. Okay, in which context they were acharya? Because it is believed that these people will give diksha to someone, and this diksha will completely change their life.
Right.
Okay, so that is the concept of acharya. Okay, so he talked about three things. First is teacher. The profession of teacher was very much important. The second is acharya, and the third is father. And now what is discussed here is that the motherhood is 10 lakh times
10 lakh times.
superior than the profession of teacher.
10 lakh times.
10 lakh times. And the motherhood is 1 lakh times superior than the profession of acharya.
So 10 lakh into 1 lakh. English numeral does not have this numbers for calculation.
Exactly.
In Hindi we have Sank, Mahasank, Neel.
So in this way, we are just simplifying it for the audiences.
Yeah.
And the third is that 10,000 times superior than the fatherhood. So again, it is talking about the significance of.
So you can look at how elevated the position of women, especially mothers, was as compared to the fathers.
This is what we see.
Yes.
Significance of women, and it is continuing from Indus Valley civilization. Okay, and it is also in other agricultural communities all over the world.
That's right.
So this is happening. The significance of women. I hope all of our audiences are familiar with the concept of Ardhanarishwar. Half male,
half female,
half female,
still a god.
still a god, right?
Yeah. So which
this
means
shows
that in godliness, half of the contribution comes from women,
Okay.
and half of the contribution. That's how I interpret it.
And one more thing, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. We all know this name.
Right.
So Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh is always associated with Shakti. And what is the Shakti? The manifestation of the power of these three gods is Shakti. So that is Shakti. So that is one of the most important thing. So everywhere in our ancient cultural tradition, what we see is that the significance of women has been discussed, right?
That's absolutely correct.
That is one part of the picture. What is the second part of the picture? How women has been portrayed. Okay, but the second part of the picture which I am going to discuss is not related with original scriptures of our religion. It is related with the misinterpretation part, and that we need to understand.
Right.
No any religion in this world teaches us to discriminate with any other social class. Because religion, basically the basic foundation of the religion is what? To promote morality in the society. That is the basic foundation of each and every religion. So what we see that in the same later Vedic period, gradually what is happening, now women were not considered to be fit to participate in sacrifices.
That starts happening
It
when,
means
sir?
what?
When
The
did it start
discrimination
happening?
started. Okay, it started in the later Vedic period. We
Later
cannot
Vedic
say an
period.
exact date,
Yeah,
but
obviously.
somewhere near this.
Yeah, in
but
that
in this entire period,
when the religion grew complex, when
Definitely.
the
This
large empires started
this
emerging.
happened in hundreds of years.
It's
Okay,
happened in hundreds
so
of
just we
years.
can trace out a phase, a particular phase, not an exact date for that. But in this entire phase, one thing is important is that
Right.
women are important scholars also.
We
in
have,
Vedic era.
we have the examples.
Definitely. I hope all the viewers are familiar with some of the popular names
Yes.
like
Gargi.
Gargi, Matri,
Yes.
Vishwasvara, Vidushi.
Yes.
Right? हमारे यहाँ भी है Vidushi.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So
That's correct.
all are familiar with these names. So these are important scholars, and they are the perceivers of mantra also. It means that in education, okay, women were playing important role. First important thing. There is a word Brahmavadini.
Brahmavadini.
Brahmavadini, it means that religion was having an important place in that society, and the performance of religion or sacrifices, okay, requires some particular knowledge. And Brahmavadinis are considered to be those women who are skilled in this particular knowledge.
Okay.
Brahmavadinis,
All right.
right? Maitreyi is Brahmavadini.
Okay.
It means that women were important scholars here in Vedic period. But what is happening? Gradually, the women were not considered to be fit to participate in sacrifices. First thing. And second, some references says that women belong to one evil out of these three evils. स्त्री तीन बुराइयों में से एक बुराई है. What are these three evils? Evils first is gambling. The second is wine,
Alcohol.
and the third is
Women.
so this is what
And
misinterpretation.
sir, just few hundred years ago, women were considered a part of three locals.
Definitely. No, this is not ago. We can say that this
They're happening simultaneously.
simultaneously. I told
Okay.
you. But why this dichotomy is seen due to the misinterpretations. That's why. Okay. Many religions, for example, in Jainism, there is a you can say that of doctrine that is Syadvad, and it encourages what? It encourages that we should learn to respect the different interpretations in the society.
Right.
We should always acknowledge other people opinion, other people views, and this is the basic foundation of our multiculturalism. But here what is happening, interpretations are bad interpretations also, misinterpretations also, non-liberal interpretations also, and these are adding to complexities. So gradually the status of women will
Obviously start decline, and especially if the section which demeans the status, which is believing in misinterpretation, is getting more power. Slowly
Definitely,
and gradually, they are going to impose their own interpretation of Vedas, and that is, I think.
So for Vedic period we can conclude
But
that
then at the same, yes sir, please.
that Vedic period we can conclude like this, that the respectable position women were having, and we cannot universalize. Gradually the status was declining. For Vedic period we can generally
Right.
conclude
But sir,
this.
obviously, at the same time, when everything Vedic in the rural, sorry. So at the same time, when we had early and later Vedic cultures in North India, I also have read that simultaneously parallel movements with respect to Buddhism and Jainism were active.
It happened after 1500, because after 1500 BC, after 600 BC,
After
there is a period that is 600 BC, 300 BC period
Yes.
in history that is known as Mahajanpada era, and this is the early state formation era, and here we see the development of new religions.
New religions. So
Buddhism
now
and Jainism.
these new religions that are emerging, or we can say parallel philosophies, school of thoughts. So obviously, a lot of people would be impacted by the thoughts of Buddha and Jain Tirthankars.
Actually, these new religions were like revolutions of that time.
Revolutions of that time. So just I want
These were no less than revolutions.
that if you can throw some light on what these revolutions
Okay,
offer to women, or what was their idea about women.
So I will focus here particularly on women, but one thing we should know, that in Vedic period, later Vedic period, the complexities were increasing, and in response to these growing social and religious complexities, the birth of these new religions took place. So obviously the most popular among them were Buddhism and Jainism.
So they were like a response to the
in
perversions
response to the complexities
that emerge in that context.
Definitely.
Yes.
So what happens in Buddhism and Jainism? Definitely they will promote liberal teachings.
Yes.
This will happen.
Correct.
Because they will
They are
oppose.
manifestations of those
Definitely.
frustrations. Yes.
So here, since we are particularly focusing on women, so I will not enter into that part. In some other podcast we will cover
Right,
that area.
We will cover
So
everything,
here,
sir.
in definitely we will cover it,
Yeah.
because these things are very interesting.
Very
Apart
interesting,
from
sir,
the studies, the
Yeah.
students should
These-
learn about
yes,
their cultural
obviously.
practices.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So here, particularly we are focusing on Buddhism. So what happened? Okay, we all know about Buddhism.
Right.
That Buddhism was a very liberal religion, and Buddhism talked about equality in 600-300 BC period. French Revolution, 1789, that is the 10th century. The slogan was
sir,
liberty, equality, and
sir,
fraternity.
talking about equality and providing equality to every human being is different. So, for example, did they really talk about equality between men and women? Buddhism
Definitely,
and
all are equal.
sir, how can we say that?
In Buddhism, basically,
Yeah.
this four Varna system emerged during this Vedic period. Okay.
Right.
And there is a concept of Purushukta for that. In some other video, we'll discuss that. So here what we see is that Buddhism says that all Varnas are equal. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Sudra. So
Right.
this is about equality
Caste
of
hierarchy.
Varnas. Okay. It means they rejected these caste distinctions. Okay, Varna distinctions.
Purity
basically.
pollution was rejected.
And second thing, what Buddhism is saying is that men and women both are equal in their rights,
Wow.
and that is the most important thing. They are talking about the gender equality.
Yes.
And this can be seen when we see that Buddhism allowed women to be a part of Sangha. And that is very interesting.
So, which means that we have evidences where women could become monk.
Member of Sangha, nuns, definitely. Right?
And they could stay in monasteries.
Sangha.
Wow, that is
Basically,
amazing.
Sangha is the monastic organization in Buddhism.
That is correct.
And along with men, women can also be a part of this Sangha. Buddha is the teacher,
Right.
Dhamma is his teaching,
Right.
and Sangha is the monastic organization. So women can be a part of that monastic organization. And that is a very revolutionary thing.
So women could leave
Because-
their families.
Definitely.
Wow.
Because asceticism
Hmm.
means renouncing your
Renouncing,
home.
yes.
It was considered to be fit for men only.
Men only. Women were not supposed to renounce their
Definitely.
jewelries and
Vedic religion and all this. So
Yeah.
how women can renounce the home? And this problem in this Vedic religion will be continued for a longer period of time. Hinduism also, that asceticism was a popular feature for male members of the society, not for the female members of the society.
Correct.
And in response of that, we see Bhakti movement, female Bhakti sense.
So now
Basically
we
that Bhakti
came
movement.
to 15th,
Just I am just
16th
relating
century.
this.
Yes,
Not
just to set the context.
Basically, the Bhakti movement from 7th, 8th century to 15th, 16th century.
Yeah, but in North India
This
it
is
was
the
15th
period.
through 16th
It's
century.
originated in South India.
South India, yes.
And there were
Nayars.
female Bhakti saints also. Okay. And those female Bhakti saints established this fact or notion that there is no need to be ascetic to worship God.
You can do
What
it.
is needed? A pure conscience where you can yourself connect with the God without any need for
That was a
complex
transformation
rituals.
which happened later on, that you do not need to walk out of your home. You can
Definitely.
create.
But this option was given
It
by
within your
Buddhism.
home.
Buddhism gave this option to the women.
Yeah.
They can be a part of
So that
Sangha.
is a very radical
Very
idea,
radical.
sir.
That's why Buddhism is one of the global religions of the world.
Because of its radicalness.
Definitely.
In that context. as
Global
well.
religion. Buddhism is a part of this global religion. And there are missionary efforts in Buddhism also. Spread in other parts of the world also.
In Buddhism also, sir, we see that there are two school of thoughts. One is extremely hardcore Buddhism,
Actually,
Digambars.
there are
and Shvetambars.
No. It's in Jainism. Digambar and
sorry,
Shvetambar.
yeah.
In Buddhism, we see Hinayan and Mahayan.
Hinayan and
not
Mahayan.
only Hinayan Mahayan,
Yeah.
there are a lot of sects and subsects. Hinayan relates to the original teachings of Buddha, and Mahayan means what some popular elements were added in the original teachings of
So the
Buddha.
outlook of both these sects within Buddhism was same towards women? Or
No,
there's
there
a
are some
difference?
fundamental differences.
Okay.
That too we will discuss in some other video. Otherwise, we will be diverted.
So I'm just counting
Yeah,
on.
I will tell you one most interesting thing since
Yes.
you have asked this question, and
Yes.
that is what the concept of liberation, and that is the most important part.
Yes.
Liberation for women. In Buddhism, it was said that women can also attain liberation, and that is one of the most important thing. Liberation or salvation, or which we call moksha. So women can attain liberation. Okay, and how they can attain liberation? There is no any need for any religious intermediary. There is no any need for any ritual worship. We don't need anything. Okay, so how can this be done? So the teachings of Buddhism were very simple. It could be easily understandable to anyone,
Right.
and these are basically a part of ethical code of conduct. We can relate it that this religion was less religion but more ethics and morality. That is more ethics and morality. And in that particular religion, what has been said, four noble truths. I hope this you are definitely
Yes, sir.
familiar with.
Yes.
And the fourth noble truth relates to the solution part. Okay, that how you can get rid of suffering. Okay,
Sufferings.
the remedy has been given,
Given.
solution has been given, and that solution is eightfold path.
Ashtangik marg.
Astangik mark. And in that Astangik mark, the role of concentration and meditation is very much important. And that are last two paths, 7 and 8. Concentration, okay, and meditation.
Right.
This has been focused. It means that by practicing meditation and concentration, by giving up unwanted desires, by bringing moral purity in your conscience, you can attain the same enlightenment experience that Buddha had attained once upon a time. It means that you can also become Buddha. It does not matter You are a male member of the society. It does not matter. You are a female member of the society.
So, do we have any example where women achieved the status of bodhisattvas?
There are important Buddhist monks, Buddhist nuns. There is a concept of bodhisattva. What we see that Jainism also divided into two sets. One is Shvetambara and the second was Digambara, which you were talking.
Right.
So basically, that Digambara sect is more strict. Okay,
Right.
the rules are more strict. Okay, so it becomes difficult for women to attain liberation in Jainism. Basically, Digambara sect. It becomes difficult for women to attain liberation in Ajivaka,
Right.
because Ajivaka are the rigid fatalist, and they will say that भाग्यवादी, आपको कुछ करना नहीं है, जो कुछ होना है that is already predetermined, fixed.
The fate is sealed.
जीवन में जो होना है वो भाग्य में लिखा हुआ है.
तो सर फिर women कैसे liberate होगी, मोक्ष achieve
in Ajivaka the concept is very interesting. They say that okay, आपको मोक्ष के लिए कुछ नहीं करना है. There are they believe in multiple births. Okay,
rebirths.
so you don't have to do anything. A time will come when you will be born as male member of the society.
Don't tell me, sir.
And
Is this true?
and among these male members of the society,
So if a lady is being born as a lady in every birth, so you just have patience. You will have a birth.
so this
where
is
you
not
will be born
practical,
in-
na? And this is the
Yeah.
reason that Buddhism is the most popular
Yeah.
in 600, 300 BC.
Okay.
So that was the most popular religion because it is giving
It provided a means
equal
for women.
opportunity for everyone. So
Equal
that is
opportunity.
Buddhism. So here what we see is that Buddhism is giving some sense of respect to the women. Okay, and definitely among the lower strata of the society also, because in this four varna structure, Brahmins were holding the primary status and the other three varnas were considered secondary. Kshatriyas were related to the protection of the society. Vaishya are basically looking after the trade and commerce, and Shudras are looking after the needs of other three varnas. So why they should be considered as secondary? So definitely there will be some sort of dissatisfaction, right? So they will support Buddhism. The rulers will also support Buddhism.
Correct.
So this phase we can understand like this.
Wow, that's so nice. But sir, so this is about Vedic, which ends at around
exactly.
2 to 300 AD.
BC.
2
This
to
is
300
Mahajanpad
BC,
era.
Mahajanpad era.
Yes.
And immediately after that, we see emergence of large empires.
Exactly. Basically, this is the evolving stage of Mahajanpad, which we are discussing. Was the evolving stage
One of the Mahajanpad
where
became
formation of states were taking
Magad
place.
and Mauryan
Janapad.
Empire. Yes.
Today we also use this word Janpad for district-like
district. Yes.
settlements.
Yes. Yes.
So in next phase, what we see, okay, is that kingdoms will arise, and Magad will be the center of these kingdoms.
Right.
Magad, okay,
Yes.
the rich Gangetic Valley region will be the center.
South of Ganga.
Okay, where the powerful kingdoms will arose. Republics are also there, and powerful kingdoms
They're
are also
existing
there.
at the same time.
But this is also an important topic, state formation. So we can also discuss this in other podcasts.
Seventh
So
topic.
again, we are focusing on
So
women issues.
you should remember that you have already committed yourself for
Definitely, we will discuss.
8 videos in coming time.
Definitely,
Thank
for
you.
sure.
So, sir, what was the status? How do you see the status of women change or evolve once we have, or within these large empires like Mauryans
That is a
and
very
the very
important
powerful
question.
emperors we
Okay.
see?
And I will first refer some examples, and with these facts
Sure,
we
sir.
can construct our
That's why we are
opinion.
here.
Okay.
Yes.
And means Hawaii opinion nahi banana. We will use some facts, and on the
Concrete
basis of
facts,
that,
yes.
we are going to construct our opinion. So here I want to say is that powerful kingdoms were arising.
Correct.
And this period we see basically in Mahajanpad period itself. We see early kingdoms like Harek dynasty is there, Sishunak dynasty is there, Nanda dynasty is
Nanda,
there.
yes.
And next phase is Mauryan Empire, where the Mauryan ruler will come, and they are considered to be like a central powerful authority.
Central, yes.
But
For the
here-
first time, we see the
definitely.
establishment of a
In Mauryan period.
in modern period, yes.
But Magad emerged as the center
real
of power
powerful.
during Haryaks,
Ah,
Harek dynasty rulers.
yes.
And the founder of this dynasty was Bimbisar,
Bimbisar, yes.
right?
Correct.
And in order to increase his power and influence, what Bimbisar did, you all have studied about this. I hope you are familiar with this matrimonial alliances
Yeah. So where you
by Bimbisar.
come in political agreement with a family,
I
ruling
am
family,
coming to the point polygamy.
polygamy, yes.
And this will further ensure the declining status of women. Bimbisar conducted 3 marriages, right?
Yes.
And these 3 marriages are, okay, these 3 marriages are, one is with, there was a state Koshala.
Koshala.
This is Magad. There was a state Koshal. And the ruler of Koshal state was Prasenjit. And the sister of Prasenjit was Mahakoshala. Bimbisar married Mahakoshala.
Koshala.
And what
so
will
in
happen?
return, he would have
Magadh's-
gotten the political support of Kaushal.
Definitely, Magad
Yes.
and Koshal.
Yes, they became allies.
Power and influence will increase. Not only this, he also gets Kashi as dowry, Banaras.
Yes.
And now what have you learned? This is one marriage. Consecutive marriages, simultaneous marriages.
So it gives
in order to
an
increase
incentive
power
to
and
the
influence.
emperors that you marry more number of women, and as a consequence, you are going to extend your control.
It means you are using women to increase your power and influence. This is how the
Yes.
objectification of women is going to be started in
Wow,
society.
that's a
The
new
second
dimension.
marriage is with the princess of Punjab territory. There was a clan, that is Madr clan, and the name of the princess was Kshema, I hope. Kshema was the name of that daughter. So second marriage with Kshema, and the third marriage with Vaishali Republic. Okay. The daughter Chetak, okay, this was the ruler, and Chellana was his
Chellana.
third wife.
Okay.
So what we see is that you have increased your power and influence by conducting matrimonial alliances, right?
Yes.
And this will be established as a tradition. And this is not only
And
here.
now it will become a regular routine.
Definitely. How we
Regular
see
practice
it.
for
I will give two
every
or three
emperor.
popular examples
Sure, sir.
to
Yes.
which the viewers can easily connect.
Yes.
There are so many examples, but I am taking the most popular ones only.
Yes.
Gupta period, you are familiar with this.
Mhm.
There are popular rulers. Chandragupta first did the same. Chandragupta II did the same. Chandragupta II is also known as Chandragupta Vikramaditya.
Right.
Okay, and the Gupta power was at its climax during the rule of Chandragupta Vikramaditya.
Yes.
So Chandragupta Vikramaditya's daughter Prabhavati Gupta was married to Vakataka ruler. And who were these Vakataka ruler? So they were controlling or ruling Deccan area.
So yes, right.
Deccan area simply
Yes, we
means what?
find their mention in the NCRT textbook also.
Exactly.
They used to have their mother's name as their surname. Probably these are the same people, right?
Exactly. No. Actually, Satvahanas were first ruling Deccan during the later modern period, and Satvahanas were for particular number of years. Not you can not say succeeded by Ikshwakus, and then Ikshwakus were succeeded by Vakatakas. They are ruling the same part, Deccan region. Okay, and Vakataka ruler dies, and now the wife Prabhavati Gupta will rule Vakataka Empire. And in this way, this Vakataka Empire will come under the indirect control and influence of Chandragupta II.
Okay.
So this shows two things. First, okay, that how power and influence in it is increased by matrimonial relations. And second, Prabhavati Gupta is ruling Vakataka kingdom.
ruling, yeah. So you for
So
the
both
first time
these two things are
you
going
have
on
an
hand in hand.
instance of women
That's
ruling, and at the same time you have an instance where the rulers are marrying multiple women for their political expediency.
I told you that both these two things are going on hand in hand. And
so
now
we saw that the two phenomena coexisting during Vedic period, coexisting during before that in Indus Valley civilization.
and one more interesting thing,
Yes.
you just have referred to the name of Satvahanas.
Right.
Okay, Satvahana rulers. Okay, Satvahana rulers adopted matronyms in their name. For example, you must have heard the famous name Gautami Putra Shatkarni,
Correct.
Vashishta Putra Pullumavi. They are using matronyms. In history, it is said that the society was not matriarchal, but still it shows that women were
High
respected
regards for women
in that society. And there is a ruler also, women ruler also, by this name of Nayanika.
Nayanika.
It means that rulers are there also in that society. In the same way, there is
Mother's name is also being used as a
Definitely.
title.
there is another kingdom, Chalukyas.
Right.
They also rule the same part, the region. And one again we get a reference of a women ruler, Mahabhattarika. And there is a writer, Greek ambassador basically was Megasthenes. I hope you are familiar with this.
Megasthenes.
Okay, so Megasthenes writes or refers that Pandya state was ruled by a woman.
Wow.
Pandya state was ruled by a woman. Chera Cholas Pandyas. Okay, so he writes that Pandya state was ruled by women. In Kashmir, in Andhra Pradesh, in Odisha, we see that women were provincial rulers also. So this is the same ancient India, where we see that women are being discriminated, and at the same time we see that women are provincial rulers also, ruling the empire or territories also. This is the same ancient India. So this is that to me. Okay, this is the contradiction of the society. But again the question comes is that here we are talking about the ruling families.
What about the normal women day-to-day life?
So in ruling families, the women are getting education.
Hmm.
At the same time, they are also used as a means or the tool to increase the power and influence of the state or the empire. But what about the common people? Who is the most affected by religion and who is the most under the influence of religion? सबसे ज़्यादा किस पे असर होता
Common
है
man.
religion का?
Hmm.
आम आदमी.
Hmm.
Another interesting development here is during
Right.
the Gupta period.
Hmm.
And we all know about feudalism. Basically, feudalism, we will record another video on this topic, but still, okay,
Yes.
feudalism. It evolved
Hmm.
during this later Mauryan phase. During Satavahanas, there is the first reference that they started giving tax-free land grants. And
Right.
gradually, this system of feudalism emerged, one of the most important system as a part of administrative and political structure
Hmm.
during the Guptas. And it
Right.
was based on land and land rights.
Mhm.
The system of feudalism was based on that. So with the growing feudalism, what happens? Okay, people were the owners of, okay, wealth.
Hmm.
They were owning large territories. So in order to look after those territories, what they need?
Manpower.
Manpower,
Hmm.
sons, multiple sons. So what will happen? Polygamy will be promoted as a result. Okay.
And more wealthier you are, you will have more number of
Definitely.
wives.
So this is also related to feudalism.
That's right.
More number of wives you will have. But what was happening at that time? The concept of immolation of widow. This is also seen in 510 AD. And both these two things are interlinked with each other.
510, 510 AD, that in post-Gupta.
Immolation of widow. Okay.
Mhm.
The first reference we find, that is inscriptional evidence we
Correct.
find in 510 AD.
Right.
And what we see, immolation of widow, how both these concepts are interlinked.
You're talking about sati, right?
Definitely. Custom of sati. Immolation of widow is custom of sati. Practice of custom of sati. Clear? So there are two things here. First, okay, suppose I am the owner of material wealth.
Mhm.
I am owning large land holdings. I am a very wealthy person of that society. So two things are there. First, I will believe that after my death, my property belongs to me.
Mhm.
Entire wealth belongs to me. So who will take care of these wealths?
Right.
So sons will take care of this wealth. First thing. And second, after death, the people believed in another life after that. So they thought that who will take care of them in that world?
Okay. So not only women have to cater to the needs of men on this,
In this world,
but then
that world also. So this idea will be promoted. Immolation of widow.
that's how the immolation started. That please come with me
Yes, this is
immediately.
one of the aspect that
Wow.
on the death of husband, the wives will be burnt on the pyre of husband along with the husband. And again, what is the dichotomy of the society is that in this world, that women were not getting respect in this world, in that particular family. But it is expected that she will become or attain the status of goddess in that world.
Okay.
It means what is being
So
promoted.
that is a way to incentivize women to carry out sati or not resist.
That is that worldism. So in this way, that worldism was promoted. So at the same time, what is happening is women has been confined within the domestic boundaries.
That is correct.
Child marriage started. Now you can imagine that 5, 6 or 7 years of girls are married. Okay. 8 years, 10 years of girls are married. And it is also very strange that they saw their husband at the time of that sacred ceremony. And after that, they never saw their husband. I hope you are understanding what I mean to say.
How come they never see the...
Because they were confined within the domestic boundaries. They were put under the veil. Okay. Parda. Confinement of
So you're saying
women.
that parda existed in ancient India even
Confinement of women in domestic boundaries existed.
before...
And when the Permanent Association of Muslims in India started, okay, then parda also came with that. Veil with that. Okay, so this will happen.
So there were constraints on liberty even before.
Confined, their women definitely constraints on liberty. They are confined within the domestic boundaries.
Right.
And the choice which they had in ancient times, Swayamvar, that freedom of choice was taken.
Away.
Intercaste marriages were restricted. One of the most important thing and interesting thing I will discuss with you is that, okay, the intercaste marriages, intervarna marriages. Suppose there is a Brahmin mother and Shudra father. In that case, the child will be considered as outcast.
Right.
It means among Shudras, that will be the most discriminated child.
So
That will
even
be called Chandal.
Chandal
And in this way, the intervarna marriages were
prohibited.
prohibited. This happened.
The stature of a son born out of relationship between an upper caste man and a lower caste woman,
Chandal, that is outcast.
the condition of that person is going to be even far worse than the condition of her mother.
Definitely. Shudras were divided into different castes.
There is a
Okay,
hierarchy. There was a
several
hierarchy
outcasts,
even among the untouchables.
and this was deliberately and intensely promoted. And there is a reason for that. Land grants were being given. Brahmins were getting tax-free land grants. Okay. And again, there are two roles of Brahmins, positive and negative. Suppose priestly class is getting land grant from the ruler. So what will happen? The priestly class will validate the power and position and authority of the ruler. The priestly class men
They will
can
make the rule legitimate.
they can make a family tree for the ruler.
Yes.
Ruler will say, I belong to the family of son
And that will be verified by the then Brahmins.
Brahmins.
That whatever he's saying is
so they
correct.
can make family trees for you.
Yeah.
Okay. And the ruler and can also claim a kind of divine status. Gupta period, the rulers were holding the titles like Param Bhagavat. So who was giving them authority to
So
hold
this
such
authority
titles?
is coming from Brahmins.
So in return of that, Brahmins were getting land holdings. These were tax-free lands. It means they don't have to pay any taxes to the ruler. And second, these lands were completely free from the interference of the royal officials or the state officials.
So
They will not come here.
they were like state within a state.
It means that they will rule and administer also. There
They-
is
they
no
had-
any intervention of the ruler.
They were like semi-sovereigns.
Definitely. So in these areas, what will happen?
Hmm.
The dominance of priestly class will increase.
Yes.
For sure. But again, the role of religion comes. What happened? The rulers provided uncultivated virgin land to these Brahmins.
Okay.
And these Brahmins motivated the tribal groups to come and settle in these particular areas and to do cultivation.
Correct.
And that helped a lot in development of agrarian structure of society. That helped a lot in development of agriculture. So all this was happening. Brahmins were emerging as the wealthy class of the society.
Correct.
Okay, their power and position was increasing. So definitely they were coming with the new interpretations, and there was no one to stop them, because we see a kind of cartel between the political authority and the religious authority. Both are supporting and validating each other. So this all is happening. Confinement of women within the domestic boundaries, custom of sati is being promoted, and widow remarriage was not possible, but it was possible in Vedic period. Widow remarriage was possible. The younger brother of the deceased took care of, okay, the wife of
the
okay.
deceased person.
So this was happening. So these things were changing. Now one thing we can notice here is that they are logically correlated also. How they are logically correlated? First, the birth of a girl child was considered inauspicious. So what the people will do? They will kill the girl child
Female
as soon as
feticide.
she will get birth.
Yeah. Infanticide.
Suppose the girl child is saved here. So the next challenge was the dowry system. The expensive form of marriages will come. And again, that is being popularized during the Gupta period. The concept of Stridhan will come. And what is Stridhan? Stridhan means what? Is that suppose there is a girl, okay? So whatever the gift she will receive from her parents' family, the bride, whatever the gift she will receive, so that gift belongs to her. It means that she is not getting the right to property in groom's wealth. She is getting property rights in case of Stridhan only. Right?
Right.
So the more you will give Stridhan, the more safer the future of the bride will be. So the concept of dowry was glorified in this period. So for commoners, it was very difficult to pay dowry.
That high amount of
So
dowry.
again, there is a problem. Now what will happen? Suppose you are not in a position to pay the dowry. So this might be a probability that you are going to marry your daughter with some person who is very higher in age. Okay, this might be
Not very sought after
so
in
child
marriage
marriage,
market.
child marriage and polygamy was promoted. People were ready to give their daughters to the wealthy people. In this way, they wanted to secure their future also, because instead they were getting some wealth. So this will happen. And now the women are not getting education. We are not universalizing again. Majority of the women are not getting education. They are out from this education system, excluded from this education system. Okay. Upanayan, when sanskars came, Upanayan was okay
So
for the girls also.
what you are saying and what I can gather from your conversation is that while we had a dichotomy in Indus Valley phase, we had dichotomy in Vedic phase. Probably what you are indicating or what I was able to understand is that during Gupta period there was no dichotomy and there was just single hands down decline of the
No,
status
there
of the
was
women.
dichotomy.
Okay.
I told you that there is Prabhavati Gupta
Okay.
as the
Yeah.
ruler.
But
I
in
am talking
Deccan,
about that.
not
That never ended in our society. Today
not
also,
never towards the north of Vindhyans. That is towards south of Vindhyans.
there was in north also.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
the ruler class women. Okay,
Right.
at some, you can say that to some level they were getting more rights. Clear,
Mm-hmm.
and at the very lower level, but
All
the
right.
middle class. Okay, this contradiction is seen today also.
Yes. True.
Okay.
That is.
Okay, the people claim that we want wives who are very advanced, progressive, and all this. But just you can calculate that those people who claim, how many of them are comfortable with such wives?
Yeah.
Okay, so this contradiction is still seen today. So what I want to say is that everything is connected here. That the girl has been put under the system of child marriage, and then what is happening? Okay, polygamy was promoted. Now suppose a person, male member of the society, is of 65 years old and he is having 5 wives, and recently he has married the 6th one,
Mm-hmm.
and the
that
age
to a
of that
very young
wife
girl.
is 12 years.
12 years.
And if that person dies, how many girls will become widow? 5 or 6
5.
girls will become
Yes.
widow. Okay, so now there are options for the widows. They were compelled to live a very miserable life. ठीक है? Like they cannot adorn themselves, they cannot. Okay, they were confined to
That is
live.
if they somehow skip sati. That is then. If
That is then, if somehow you have escaped the custom of sati,
sati.
though your life is very miserable, it means if you are not opting for sati, so in this world you are going to live a life
Of a
that
hell.
is full of misery.
Misery.
If you are opting to become sati, you will be treated as goddess.
God is.
So this is what,
Yeah.
this is not humanism.
Society is
We are not
incentivizing
giving
women to-
respect to women in this world. Instead, we are giving respect to women in that world. What is that? This is not good. And in this situation, the very existence of women was dependent on only one condition, only one particular condition, and that is what? Until unless my husband is alive, I am safe and secure in this world. The day when he will die, okay, my life will be miserable. And in this situation, Pati emerged as Parameshwar.
Because he can put you on the path of salvation.
मेरा पति जैसा भी है,
वो मोक्ष दिलवा सकता
मेरा
है
देवता
मुझे।
है.
देवता है.
This concept will emerge. And now, since women were confined within the domestic boundaries, they were not given education. We are not universalizing. Again,
I understand.
okay, because
This is not generalization. but
generalization.
yeah.
So in this situation, the woman is familiar with her family, bride's family, brother, father. She is familiar with bridegroom and his family. She is not familiar with any other man. So how she can compare that there are other people also who are better than my husband? My husband is mistreating me. Okay, so she cannot resist. So in this way, subordination of women increased. So everything is going on hand in hand. On one side we see deliverance, on one side we see subjection.
Subjugation.
Okay, Razia Sultana in medieval India. This is a very popular example. You must
But
have
sir, remember we have to make a separate video for medieval
definitely.
India.
But I'm just
So
giving-
don't go too much into medieval today.
Okay, okay. I'm
Yeah,
just
you can use all references you want, but I don't want to dilute what we decided. You promised me.
we will discuss in detail
Yes.
the status of women in medieval India.
Yes,
okay?
yes. Thank
And
you.
we will also discuss the role of women in Indian national movement. That is also a very interesting topic to discuss. And I will include in that discussion the women from Northeast, South India, North, in an
Cover
inclusive
entire.
manner. We are going to discuss that
Yes,
part. But
Indian
here I am
subcontinent.
taking reference. Okay.
Yes.
Reference of Vijayanagar Empire.
Okay.
The women were bodyguards. The women were astrologers. The women were soothsaying. The women participated in economic activities. Chola Empire, women had important role. Vijayanagar Empire, important role. In Delhi Sultanate, we see Razia as a ruler,
Right.
daughter of Iltutmish. She was an able and efficient ruler. But, okay, what happened? Corps of 40 members, that is Tarkane Chahalgani, okay,
Yes.
they were dissatisfied. She was the ultimate choice of corps of 40. They thought that she will be you can say that like
Gungi Gudiya.
dumb doll.
Yeah, dumb doll.
Okay, but
So whoever has been thought of as the Gungi Gudiya
their
has
expectation has gone wrong.
gone wrong every time. So
Right.
this is one lesson we can learn. The same mistake was committed
Indira
during the time
Gandhi.
of Indira Gandhi.
The same happened. The cops
Yes.
of 40 again go against her.
Uh,
Okay, the only weakness was her sex.
mm,
So what I am saying again, that dichotomy,
mm,
that on one side we see the ruler,
mm,
and on one side we see the decline of the ruler due to
mm,
sex, that is female. This is one part. Okay, so we can also understand this dichotomy with this example in medieval. Now the same, I will take one reference from modern
Sure,
India.
sir.
Okay, I will discuss that in separately, but there I will discuss a lot of personalities. Here I am taking one reference. You must have heard about a very famous case, that was one of the most famous case in the history, a legal case in the history of India, and that was the case of Rakmabai Raut.
Mhm.
Have you heard about this?
No, sir.
Okay, Rakmabai Raut case. This is very interesting, and this is, I hope, in the year 1885, near to 1884, 85. It's in the year 1885, and what we see is that Rakmabai Raut was in colonial India. She was one of the earliest physicians in colonial India. Okay, and what happened? She was married when she was 11 years old. With 19 years old, Dadaji Bhikaji. So definitely this was a child marriage. Okay, and after that, Rakmabai Raut stayed at her own home to continue her studies. After a few years, she denied to go to her law's home, her husband's home, and then her husband filed a petition in court.
Okay.
Husband Dadaji Bhikaji filed a petition.
Dadaji Bhikaji
And
to
this
get the
petition was
possession of the women back.
restitution of conjugal rights.
Conjugal rights.
What is conjugal right? Conjugal right means the married couple should stay together. This is
Okay.
conjugal right. This
Okay.
is if my wife is not staying with me or I am not staying with my wife, so both of us has the option to go to the court for that purpose.
Correct.
That is conjugal right.
Right.
And restitution, for restitution of that rights, okay, he filed a petition in the court. Now the court interfered. Now the problem is that when you look at the ancient cultural practices and traditions, what you find कि पति पत्नी का साथ तो 7 जन्मों का साथ होता है, तो
Right.
इसी जन्म में कैसे मुझसे अलग रहने लगी?
Hmm.
This is our ancient cultural tradition. And what is the judgment of the court? There are two judgments. First judgment comes, and in that judgment it was said that since Rakmabai Raut was married in a stage when she was not able to decide about her future, it means that this marriage was forced upon her. So she is free to leave, okay, apart from her husband. She is not forced to live with his husband.
Correct.
Now this judicial decision just
Must-
sparkle controversy.
Yes.
The people came opposing this.
It's an assault on culture, right?
The same like triple talaq today.
Triple talaq. Yes.
Debates going on, the same happened.
That
People-
I can imagine the reaction of people because I read newspapers and I see the reaction in 2024, and this is the event that you are mentioning goes back 150 170 years from now. So obviously it must have sparked huge controversy. So how did people of India take this decision, especially Hindus?
Actually, the second decision, for example, this decision comes and it erupted a controversy, and controversy about Indian laws, customary practices versus British laws, interference of British in our ancient cultural practices, tradition. Definitely, this mounted some sort of pressure on the British government, and now the another judgment come. That is the final judgment, and this judgment is very interesting. The judgment says that Rakmabai Raut will have to stay with her husband,
Wow.
and if she denies to do so,
Hmm.
okay, in this situation,
Don't tell me she will go to
she-
jail.
definitely she
Really?
will- imprisonment, 6 months imprisonment. Now this issue was settled out of the court in 1888.
Finally.
Out of the court settlement, this happened.
But this is what court said.
This was one of the first case of international feminism. This issue was popular not only in India but outside India
Became
also.
famous.
Okay, and Behramji Malabari, Pandita Ramabai were the members of the Central Defense Committee who were advocating for the rights of Rakmabai Raut. This was happening. And another important development, the very next year was 1889, there was a Bengali girl, Fulumati Das. She was 9 years old girl and she was married to a 35 years old male. And due to this, you can say that is forceful sexual intercourse, we can say, she died.
Okay.
And this again erupted a huge controversy. Then finally, age of consent law was introduced in 1891 when Lord Lansdowne was the viceroy, and the age for, okay,
Minimum age for
consent of
sexual
sex,
intercourse, yes.
okay, this was increased from 10 to 12.
12 years.
So definitely this was some sort of relaxation to the women, okay, but this is not the complete deliverance of women. And these exploitation of women also started founding its expression in literature. Jaishankar Prasad wrote a play, and I don't remember the exact year, but that phase is called Victorian era, right? In Victorian era, this feminism was popular, okay, and 1850s as a movement, it became popular in Britain and England, in Britain and America, right? And later, this was reflected in Indian literature also. For example, Dhruva Swamini, he wrote a play, and one of the most important, the very famous lines of Jaishankar Prasad, you must have heard about this. All of our viewers have heard about this. कि क्या कहती हो ठहरो नारी, संकल्प अश्व बल से अपने, तुम दान कर चुकी पहले ही जीवन के सोने से सपने. And then he writes that नारी तुम केवल श्रद्धा हो, विश्वास रजत नग पग तल में, पीयूष स्रोत सी बहा करो जीवन के सुंदर समतल में. What he is doing? He is portraying the character of women in a positive note, that women are the reflection of sacrifice in this world. Women are the reflection of sacrifice. The feminine qualities are the divine qualities. प्रेमचंद, मुंशी प्रेमचंद also writes कि अगर एक पुरुष के अंदर स्त्रियोचित गुणों का विकास हो जाए तो वो पुरुष महान बन जाता है. It means if a male member of the society, if he develops some feminine traits, then he can be great. For example, Gandhi became great as a result of that. What are these feminine traits?
Like tolerance, I guess.
Exactly.
Patience.
Tolerance. Excellent level of tolerance that male members lack. Patience. They are homemakers. The sacrifice, ultimate sacrifice which they make to make others. Okay. So that's why motherhood was also glorified in Vedic era. Okay. You cannot pay the debt of your mother. This is a sacrifice. Definitely what we are today in making you, in making me, and
Obviously.
okay, this is not we who have made efforts for us. Definitely there is some contribution.
Right.
I will not say that we are तीसमार, हमने खुद को बनाया नहीं. You cannot say like this. Your environment, the people, the belongings, all of them had made sacrifices for you. But the greatest sacrifices has been made by the mother. Okay, so this is glorifying the role of the women. And in the literature of Jaishankar Prasad, almost 150 years of medieval history, the exploitation of women, okay, it was portrayed, it was reflected. Okay, so in literature also this found expression. Okay, there are two forms of feminism. One was the radical feminism. Radical feminism means जो women के rights हैं वही दे दो उनको. For example, if women don't have property rights, if women don't have citizenship rights, so you give them those rights. That is radical feminism.
Right, sir.
New feminism debates are popular today. In these new feminism, what we see, in these new feminism, we see the issues like validation of lesbianism. This is a part of new feminism. So in this way, we see that till modern age, okay, this debate was continued. We are calling this period modern period. History was divided like that. But what was happening in this modern is beginning of 18th century, 19th century, 20th century, what we see, the clouds of darkness were brooming around over the skies of India. Okay, we are calling this age modern age, but still we were facing a lot of challenges. There were male feminists in India who fought for the rights of women, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Swachan Vidyasagar, and all this.
Sir, it is also one of the criticisms of Indian feminist movements that it was led by males.
But it's good.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, somewhere you have to initiate.
Definitely.
Yes.
This is on a positive note,
That is
because
a
when you read about lower caste movement, there are various people who belong to the upper class and they fought for the rights of lower class.
Yeah, that's
Male
right.
members fighting for the
Everywhere.
rights of. Okay.
So, yeah.
So ultimately, we can say that women were the promoter of ethics and morality in the society. We can say this.
But how can we say that women are promoters of ethics and morality?
Okay, you can understand it with a very simple example.
Yeah.
Okay, there is one neighbor's child. So once he was singing a song.
A song?
Song. He was singing a song.
Okay.
Sitting around me, playing around me, he was singing a song. You must have heard the name of a singer, Badshah.
Bad Boy Badshah? The
Bad
rapper?
Boy. The context is exactly regarding that rapper,
Okay.
Badshah. So he was singing the lines, lyrics of that Badshah song. I was not familiar with Badshah till that day, and he was the lines were like this: कोई उंगली करता है तो मैं बाँ भी चढ़ाता हूँ. तो मुझे लगा कि नाराज है क्या किसी से? He's saying if someone teases me, I used to roll up my sleeves. Okay. Then I told that what happened. He said that I'm singing a song. मैंने कहा पूरा सुनाओ.
आपने तो सुना नहीं होगा ये रैप.
No, no. Then he said कोई उंगली करता है तो मैं बाँ भी चढ़ाता हूँ, पर सामने वो बंदी तो गुड बॉय बन जाता हूँ.
क्या बात है. I have not heard this rap, but
Have you
okay.
understood the context?
That around women, I behave nicely. I behave normally, properly,
Definitely.
the right manner.
So that child was singing a song. But normally you will find that where women are present at the workplace also, the environment is more disciplined. Have you noticed that?
The presence of women itself creates
they are
a lot
more
of.
dedicated in their work. They are more dedicated, more disciplined. And what we need today is to promote discipline in our society. The culture of tolerance, promotion of social discipline. These are the most needed things of the time. So promotion of women. And if the women will have the equal rights, okay, if the women will get the equal opportunities, this will change the picture of our world. Okay, so these are the women who are the liberators, and for that, women liberation is the must. So still we are living in the same dichotomy. We are not free from that. So
That is
this will
right.
be possible at the individual level. We can expect from the newer generations, okay, that
Yeah.
okay, they will think in a positive manner, positive note, and this these lines which I discussed with you, Badshah, bad boy Badshah.
I'm going to listen to that rap.
This is also on a lighter note.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is right. Sir, it has already been, I think, more than an hour that we sat down for this discussion. And I can obviously understand that there is so much that you can talk about, especially in history. And so, probably, I would request you to stop at this point. And I would bring your attention to a lot of commitments that you have, I don't know, knowingly or unknowingly, have made in this podcast. Is that you will make a lot of videos. And so probably it is not possible to cover everything in a single video, but we can come up with a series of lectures on multiple topics, because we have started with women and we have discussed women in ancient India today. uh, can we do and trace similarly the situation and the position of women in medieval India?
Definitely.
And especially, I'm curious to know the contribution, or the regional contribution, as it came from various parts of the country. For example, what was the contribution of women from East India, South India, North India, Northwestern, Western provinces during the British times, with respect to India's nationalist movement?
So that's a very brilliant idea. Okay, and I think that this discussion will be continued because
Yeah.
still we are in the process.
I will keep on
okay?
bothering you, sir.
So this is ancient India
Yeah.
part. I hope the listeners would have got some idea that how
Definitely,
the
sir.
status of women
In
transfer.
fact, when I
So
came
it,
here today, when we started the discussion, I didn't know that 1 hour down the line, I would be knowing so much about the situation of women. And especially, what is startling for me is that you have taken a thread and connected all the phases of ancient India with that thread. And that thread is the contradiction between salvation versus subjugation, and the theme where you show that in every phase there are multiple numerous examples of women who were empowered, women who were free, and at the same time you have example of women and deteriorating condition of women. And that is what is, I think, the key learning for me today.
we are going to use the same format, and the
Okay.
topic I think we should choose for our next discussion is status and role of women in medieval India.
Right, sir.
In that we will include the discussions about Sultanate period, Mughal period, southern states, everything. Okay.
Correct.
And then in the same pattern we can cover the discussions about the role of women in Indian national movement.
Yeah.
And there we can
That's what I requested you
all
to make a
reasons,
yes,
all inclusive.
all
So
inclusive
I hope this will be a
contribution
set
of women in India's struggle for
for
independence.
sure, for
Yes.
sure. That's a very brilliant idea.
Nice.
So we are going to continue this discussion in our next
For
podcast.
sure, sir.
And I will thank the listeners also.
Thank you for coming over and sparing time from your busy class schedule, sir. Let's figure out the time for the next podcast recording just after we stop.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everyone. Keep on watching.